If you take a global view, we've got up to 2 billion people in more than 100 countries that are facing food shortages, heat stress, loss of lives and livelihoods from other climate events, and indeed millions thrown back into poverty with a cost of living crisis. We have enough food in the world, we have enough money in the world. The real question is, how do you break what Gabriella was talking about with the excessive wealth going to just a concentration of those who control commodities, everything from vaccines to indeed food and energy. So we need governments to act across the board. For workers, the cost of living crisis is on top of actually a jobs crisis. Believe it or not, women lost $800 billion during the pandemic and they're not back in the workforce. Many of them have left the workforce. Young people are still struggling by and large to get a secure job. So it looks rosy on the official figures, but get underneath it, and if we're to return to full employment in the formal economy, we need 575 million new jobs. We need to formalise around 1.6 billion of those informal jobs where people simply face survival every day, the challenge of survival.
It's interesting that you point out that the headlines really gloss over some of the deep challenges still in the labour force. But if I can bring in the narrative, at least from the US Federal Reserve perspective, which is that the very low rates of interest rates at this stage and higher inflation, but then mixed with the unemployment rate, it is just not sustainable that unemployment actually has to go higher again from here, perhaps one of the casualties as we start to tackle inflation. What do you think that means in terms of job losses?
That's a market fundamentalist view. Why does unemployment have to go higher so that we can actually grow economies? We've got a problem, not in the US so much because interest rates haven't risen so much, but around the world you have a problem with interest rate rises at precisely the wrong time. This is the wrong monetary tool when indeed we have a supply problem. And so we need to turn that around. But we also need the world to say, what is the social contract? What do we build economies on? And we've called for a new social contract. So has Antonio Guterres. It's at the heart of the Jobs and Social Protection Accelerator, the Common Security Agenda, even his effective multilateralism inquiry of the day, because our multilateral system is failing us. But we can have full employment. There are underfunding in care. COVID showed us that. There's absolutely a deficit in infrastructure. And of course, we have climate transition essential in every sector. Every dollar you put in to looking to these areas of absolute necessity, you grow jobs.